Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League. Your host, Doey, here, along with Jesse Jacob and our special guest, Super GM of the Sonics organization, helping us out with some analysis today. And we're going into DarkZero versus Beastcoast. Now, Beastcoast has a lot on them, right? Making some changes between stage and twos and threes. They haven't gotten really anything going this stage yet. DarkZero, though, coming into this one with a bit of a change themselves. Hyper out of the lineup, in comes Skies. So changes for both teams to talk about. Where do we want to get started? I feel like there's a ton to talk about with this one.
Well, I mean, Beastcoast are certainly not a team that have been super successful as of late. Obviously,
not great.
They've been struggling this stage. Having to play with Mark in instead of Ferda has been rough. They're the only team right now in the NAL without a single point. They're also facing DarkZero, an opponent that has historically really done well against Beastcoast. Easy on a 5-game win streak against Beastcoast throughout the NAL. Of course, stretching back to multiple rosters last year, but still, that is not an opponent that you like to face if you're Beastcoast.
Yeah, my biggest concern, obviously, is Beastcoast and just not being able to fully practice with a team that you know is actually going to have a lot of longevity. There's multiple things about this Beastcoast lineup that simply don't add up. I do wonder if DarkZero getting the supplement of Skies will boost them at least temporarily, because the last 2 games that they've played, both of which not much confidence in that game against the Sonics, considering they won 1 attack round out of 6, and then even in that game against the Astralis and Playday 1, there's still a lot of things to look at on this DarkZero roster that you're like, this isn't how things are supposed to go.
Yeah, Beastcoast just have looked flat out terrible. They're like, they do have the excuse, like, yes, they have a coach playing because of a visa issue with one of their players, but the reality is they have looked bad. And yeah, DarkZero coming into this game with a player that maybe they didn't expect to have to play this stage, Skies filling in for Hyper. But if you're Hyper, if you're DarkZero, this is probably the game you want to kind of like use as like a little bit of a welcome back. Skies did play last stage. It's not like he's been out of the game forever.
Right.
But this is kind of a nice warm-up game for maybe a more difficult game tomorrow for DarkZero.
Yeah, for some reason, Beastcoast ended up winning this thing. I think DarkZero's chances are very firmly in the gutter at this point.
Yeah, a lot of questions will be answered shortly, but we did catch up with some of the DarkZero players before the stage began to kind of get a bit of a status check, and let's see what they had to say.
I think there was a few things that led to a bit of a slower start for us in stage 2. I think one of the first things was we just came off a win. I've found after winning on different teams that it's almost inevitable that there's some level of complacency. I think we came into the stage a little cold, not working probably as hard as we should have, just not fully in it, not as motivated, all that.
I think we figured out like a side reason why. I think a big reason was like some of the maps we were going to, and BO1s didn't really fit us. I think some of the maps would have fit us better in like a BO3. Like 3rd map rather than like our map pick.
I personally just don't think we should have gone to some of the maps that we did. We went based off like scrim performance, but it usually wasn't versus like pro teams. It'd be like, oh wow, we're crazy at this map. And like we'd be playing like T2, T3 teams on it and like inflate our stats, and we'd be like, oh, we're feeling really good on this map. But then we play like a pro team with like much better strats, much better teamwork, and like obviously it gets a lot harder. Like a lot of the plays that you'll make, you can't get away with.
Yeah, the comms for our team, like Troy definitely has the biggest hold of them. He's the one who kind of makes like the big call. Second to that's usually Tyler, but I'd say everyone does a pretty good job calming. Everyone does their little job, works their areas. In terms of chaoticness, it definitely depends. Sometimes there's too little, too many. I feel like it's just like any other team, but it's just easier because we have Troy.
I definitely agree, yeah. The longer a match goes on, the better our team gets. I think teams I've been on in the past, I think it's been similar. Always been a bit slower starters. But yeah, I think that's always been almost a strength of me on teams is I think as more rounds are played, I'm more and more familiar with how the other team plays, and I think our team usually starts to control the pace more.
I think a big thing for us this stage would be teamwork and communication. I think if we just kind of keep to ourselves and focus on like what's our goal and like what's in front of us, then I think we'll be fine. And going into this stage, we want to just like kind of keep our heads down and just focus on ourselves and how we can just constantly improve every day.
Yeah, our focus right now, we are trying to strengthen our BO1 map pool. Just the maps we're most comfortable on, because I feel like even though we haven't missed an event in a very long time, like our NAL play hasn't been stellar, I'd say. Like we get like 4th or 3rd, which is like, it's not bad, but like I feel like we should be performing a lot better in NAL.
Well, there you go. Time to focus on ourselves and our own play. Hyper's going to be getting a little bit extra of that as he's not in the lineup right now. Sky's coming to sub in, which he was, brought in as a sub a few weeks ago. They've known this is a possibility that this might happen. Now it has happened. He's in the lineup. How does that change the landscape of this team? Super, you mentioned he did play for them earlier. He did play last stage, obviously, in the NAL. So there is some precedent there. There is a little bit of experience. But how quickly do you think they can integrate him into the team?
I mean, he's been on this team before too, so he's kind of familiar with how they operate. So
right.
I don't think it'll be a huge thing for them. For me, I found something interesting that they were talking about in that interview, where they were kind of talking about how they don't agree with some of the maps they're going to, and like they don't like their map pool, and that's like strange to me as a team, because so if you're going to maps based off of scrims, and then you're saying, well, your scrims don't tell you what maps to play, and then you're doubting what because your coach is doing your map bans, you're doubting what map your coach is taking you to. It just seems like kind of a weird environment, no? Like, what is scrims for if you don't feel like you're getting productive results? What is the coach for if you feel like he's taking you to the wrong maps? So that kind of caught me as like a strange thing that they're dealing with right now.
It was a common topic when I was talking to them in Vegas, where they were saying a lot of times, one of the biggest things we need to work on is our maps. And what do you think so far, Jesse? What's the early impression? Have they made any progress in the map department?
I mean, so far, DarkZero played Theme Park and Clubhouse, not maps that they were unfamiliar with previously, both maps that they played once throughout Stage 2, so we'll see. I think that this is definitely a squad that has been kind of needed to bounce back since the start of Stage 2, and it feels like they mostly accomplished that. I think that when it comes to coaches and having confidence in your coach is going to be very, very important for DarkZero, because we've seen that when you start off and maybe have not the best performance ever, having confidence in your coach being able to speak to you can be a really big deal. I think that's something we saw in just last game with Callout, being able to talk with DP Fire and get him back into it after a bad week. And the man that we just had on our screen just now, NJR, we want to see the same thing from him. Did not have the greatest of weeks last week. Of course, on that second Playday, 0-6 on attack. Was really often kind of a solo pinching player. Did not really have a great time attacking in against Sonics. Despite that, still the current kill leader in the NAL heading into this week, 24 frags. So I think it's those little moments that you need to sharpen up for NJR, because again, we know he's a good player. We know he can pop off, but making sure that he's really there with the team, I think is going to be huge for their attacks.
Right. Well, let's go to the other side of the arena over there in Las Vegas. They have an opponent to take out, and it is Beastcoast. Beastcoast, a team struggling, obviously. The biggest struggle is the man on the left side of your screen there. Ferda is on the team. He's in Vegas. He's practicing with him, but he doesn't have the visa done yet to be able to actually compete. They have had Mark, their coach, subbing in for him. It's been rough, though.
Yeah, I think for Beastcoast, I mean, listen, I track 10 different team stats on my sheet, and Beastcoast are dead last in every single one of them.
Oh, yeah.
The answer cannot be for this team, well, we're going to wait for Ferda, and when Ferda's here, we're going to do well. Presumably, Ferda's not going to play this week. That's almost half of the entire stage gone just because you have a sub. And I get that it's a difficult circumstance to play under, but if this is a team that wants to show themselves as like a strong roster to finish off the year, that wants to have a chance of making that major, they've got to figure things out with Mark on their team. I think this team's attacks have definitely been something that you can question. They've yet to win a single attacking round.
Yeah.
Only played a couple of attacks so far because they've started on defense and they've really gotten kind of slammed throughout the 2 games that they've played so far. But listen, if we can get them on more attacking rounds, if we can get that sorted out, that would be a huge help for Beastcoast.
Biggest thing I keep seeing is that Mark keeps on trying to play shades of the old Mark the Shark. Back when he was on Reciprocity, maybe some of his Tempo Storm days, he's not taking over just the things that you would expect a coach to do in a substitute role. It's not just taking over the breach or the smoke or whatever it might be that maybe doesn't rely nearly as much on aim. He's still trying to play offside, but his impact is minimal or spotty at best. And sometimes some of the strats they've had through playing Chalet 2 times in a row, especially with Castle, it feels like it does more to keep Beastcoast in than TSM out. It's sloppy setups, it's sloppy timing. Kills that they get feel like the ones that they are expected to get over the course of a round, and nothing is necessarily like that interesting, so to speak. I feel like this Beastcoast team still has the potential to do something like cool throughout this stage, but it feels like the people that they have on this team right now aren't necessarily being utilized in the best way. And as far as Zeno is concerned, this is probably the roughest intro to a Tier 1 league you probably could have for anybody coming up from this year's rookie class.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Beastcoast just flat out lack fragging power. They brought in Zeno as a fragger. As you see right now, he's 7-17, doesn't have an entry kill. Mark is filling in for Ferda, who was also brought in as a bit of a fragger. 8 kills himself. Then, and you know, I don't like to, you know, kind of go at individual players, but they did kind of make a decision last stage to release Drip in favor of Anthony. Anthony right now, after being the lowest rated player in the league, I believe, last stage, he's currently 4-16 this stage on Zofia.
Yep.
They're just getting no fragging from any of the players that should be, and they're not going to win if they don't get kills.
Yeah, and you can't make the coach excuse for that much if you look at those stats too, right? Because like Mark isn't causing Anthony to like miss those shots, right? I mean,
No.
that's on him, you know. So at the end of the day, this is the situation you're in, whether you wanted to play with your coach or not. Nobody does, obviously, but you got to still do what you can do. And so far, no one's really been able to step up on Beastcoast yet. We'll see if that changes. Maybe the map ban will give us a clue to that. We do have the bans in right now, so we will find out shortly where we're going to go.
Thus far, we've seen Beastcoast play back-to-back chalets, and to their credit, they did have kind of different setups on those 2 games, but I don't know if they'll be willing to bring it a 3rd time, given the poor results. We start with the permabans, Skyscraper Cafe. Neither of these teams have played these maps ever at all in their histories, so we'll see those both out of the field immediately. No surprises. Coming up next, again, you'd expect maybe a chalet ban from Beastcoast at some point here, given their poor results so far this stage. Oregon Theme Park coming through instead. Oregon, kind of the opposite of a perm ban from DarkZero. They played it 7 times for the first 2 stages of the year. Despite that, though, their record has been kind of ups and downs, so maybe they don't want to bring it out here for their game against Beastcoast. There's the chalet ban. So after we saw them play it for the first 2 games of stage 3, they're going to ban it, and we won't see them on the same map again.
Last 3, I think DarkZero are probably going to continue this 100% ban record that they've got on Villa, just remove it and allow Beastcoast to pick, I think, between either Clubhouse or Bank. So it'll be up to Beastcoast to decide if they want to take DarkZero back to the map that they just played last week, or if they want the Bank pick, but that is not the way that they are going to swing. Beastcoast on Club, this is usually one of their permabans next to Cafe. They've not played it a single time this year. If we've seen them play it, it would have been back last year, which is forever ago and doesn't matter. Completely different squad. And as far as DarkZero is concerned, yeah, there were plenty of mistakes they made in that game against the Sonics from last week, so it's curious if they've been able to correct them.
Yeah, Beastcoast, I'll give you a stat, Jacob. The last time they won on Clubhouse was against Altiora in 2020.
Oh my God.
Name you haven't heard in a while.
Was that the SI quals?
I don't know.
Way
It's
back
just in
then?
my notes.
Well, when would Beastcoast have ever played Altiora?
I think it was
of all
quals. I
teams?
think it was SI quals.
Holy crap, that's forever ago.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. We're all about history, you know, but learning from history, that's the question. Can we do it? Let's find out in our predictions. Hey, anyone gonna pick Beastcoast? Stokes? Blue? Stokes, I said I'd go to you first, so what do you think? Are you gonna pick Beastcoast?
It's a Mexican standoff. Everybody just has guns pointed at each other like, all right, who's picking it? Honestly, you know, I was going to go first, but I mean, Super showed us all up this last time. Super, I've got to ask you, are they popping sensu beans over there on Beastcoast? Like, are we picking them, or are we going to go DarkZero? What's happening here?
I think the only way Beastcoast win this game is if DarkZero, like, they just somehow get banned mid-game. Like, I penalize them. Like, I just don't see a world in where this is. You know, the games have been pretty fast today. This may be the fastest game.
Larch is just going to walk around and turn off all their computers simultaneously.
I gotta say, too,
He just
like,
turns it off. Get it over with.
the thing is with the sensu beans analogy, they might bring you back from near death, but they don't change you from being Yamcha.
Oh, that's true. You got us. You got
Jesse,
us there.
references that flew over my head for 1,000, please.
They're just not cultured. No DBZ for these
right.
two,
Come on,
apparently.
DBZ,
So
it's like one of the most basic.
Nope.
Like,
I literally have no idea what you're
That's like
talking about.
asking me if
What?
I
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
Dragon Ball Z. Nobody knows what.
No.
What is the world coming to?
I'm such a nerd, Doa. I'm such a nerd. But I will also be picking DarkZero as well. I think Super makes a great point. And not only that, anybody with eyes can look at a rating sheet and see that things are not going well for Beastcoast right now. So I'm going to have to go with the safe avenue.
Yep, it's going to be the same for me. Not really much of a reason to go against DarkZero here, even with the sudden swap over to Skies. Like Super said, he's been on the team before, and I don't really think they're going to miss much of a beat switching over to him.
All right, another one for DarkZero as well. We'll check back in with our casters in a moment. Thanks again, Blue and Stokes. Well, we already got Super's pick. Jesse, Jacob.
Jacob, what do you feel?
Yeah.
I don't want to give more justification to this, and I don't think you need to either. Just say, put DZ on the graphic for him.
Put DZ
Put DZ on the graphic for me.
Wait.
Put DZ on the graphic for
Jacob,
the fan vote, and then just go to the coin.
Jacob, if you're feeling stiff and you want to stretch, I think that obviously we have DarkZero coming in with a brand new player, a new substitute coming into the team, and I think if we can see the players that have really been locking on Beastcoast, like Zeno, like Anthony, actually show up and have good games, I don't think it's out of the question.
Can you see that?
Well, no.
No.
But I don't think it's out of the question. I'm going DZ as well. But
That's like saying, like,
possible.
yeah, it's possible, like, the studio could get hit by a meteor. It's you never know. There's big rocks in space flying around.
Descend right now into the heavens.
There you
don't
go.
know. It
yeah,
could happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
East
you
Coast
could
need to
translate
summon
it
an
into Zen
actual
state.
tsunami to hit Vegas right now if they want to win this thing.
All right. Well, let's see what the coin has to say. It's going to be heads, DarkZero, tails, Beastcoast. Stupid coin. It said tails.
if we all lose to this, then I'm just saying.
I don't know. It's happened before.
Yeah.
It'd be way funnier if the coin was also like, nah, I can't stand this.
You
We're
never
done.
know. If it was Beastcoast Mirage, then the coin picks Mirage, and then it gets to be right. But let's see what the fan vote says this time around. 90%, I'm being told, DarkZero. There
Only
you go.
90?
I feel like if this is
can you
even
do?
a close game, like even with Skies playing, if this is a close game, DZ go home very angry. Like this is a game you're going in, you're getting your 3 points, you're worried about tomorrow kind of game.
But there is a point that you reach too as a team though sometimes where it's like you don't want to be the first team to give up a win to it, and then that puts even more pressure.
That's true, but usually the other team has to be able to like shoot back. So in this instance, from what we just seen, who's shooting back? Because it's not Anthony, it's not Mark.
Haven't won an attack yet. If you lose to a team that hasn't won an attack round, that's a problem.
It's looking grim, and I'm not talking about the operator. Let's look at the fan vote. Let's see what the community poll rather has to say. Which old timer will score higher, Skies or Slashhog?
I'm gonna go ahead with Skies there. Don't think it's really much of a poll. Honestly, expect 99-1.
I like
And
the
the one
alliteration.
is like Slash's mom.
Don't disappoint him.
I like the rhyming in that question, if nothing else.
Oh no. Well, this has been a fiery desk segment. There you go. But something to think about. Beastcoast, we got to see what they can do. You got to step up individually. You got to prove us all wrong. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll see if they can do just that when we return to the NAL.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the NAL. Getting ready to head into our second to last game of the day. You've heard it on the desk. It's going to be a bit of a challenge for one of our teams, and for the other one, potentially could be a very quick day. We'll have to wait and see if that's going to be true, of course, but the stats don't make it look too promising for Beastcoast as we get ready to head into this matchup.
No, it doesn't, but they do have one thing going in their favor, is the fact that Skies had to step in for DarkZero in place of Hyper. As you can see, him right here on the edge of the bench. So DarkZero will be squaring off against Beastcoast today, who through 2 playdays have only gotten 3 rounds total. It's looking bleak here coming into day 3, but that doesn't mean that they can't try and change up their fate and see if they can try and run amok of the NAL here in the later parts of stage 3. But it all starts now up against a pretty feisty unit that is DZ. Now DZ have had some pretty interesting games here throughout the first couple of playdays here, especially the one up against Sonics, recently losing 7-3 against a team that also recently made 2 big changes. And now for DZ, we're headed back to where they just had that loss last week.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's not waste any more time. Let's get ourselves into a Clubhouse. Will be the battleground for this matchup, hopefully giving a little bit more credence over to the players on Beastcoast. They should know what to expect from their opponents heading on to this very, very long-standing map here in the Siege community. So let's see if they can get it done, giving us a massive upset for the day, or if DarkZero will give us the expected result and shut things down here. The bans are live, no surprises to start things out, as Maverick is going to be eliminated to make that job of opening things up for CCTV upstairs a little bit more of a pesky job, excuse me.
Absolutely. Now, what's going to be the other offensive ban? This will tell the tape of the offense. It's going to be Habana, more focally pointed towards the hatch play here. Try and get rid of some of those X-Kairos that make it so very easy to try and get those hatches open with how you can choose the different patterns for her X-Kairos. So Zamir is going to follow through here for Beastcoast on the defense, one of the most solid defenders that we have available in the defensive pool now, and more than likely I'd say Mira probably going away here. Thatcher's on the board and everything else, so might see a Kaid ban maybe, and yeah, actually that is what we're going to get. So Kaid off now. Don't want to try and deal with him around walls, but the big thing is that DZ, at least for their last matchup, were looking a lot more solid on defense than they were on offense. It's actually where the Sonics were able to deal a majority of their damage was the defense, as DZ was only able to put up 1 round on that half. So now starting off on the defensive end could make things a little bit easier for them to at least get the ball rolling.
Basement start, as you would generally expect here for Clubhouse, as that is going to be very much that bunker that we can see our defenders lock themselves into in this round. Shouldn't really be any exception from that. Skies, I believe, is going to get a little bit adventurous there on the alibi. We can expect maybe 1 or 2 additional players on DC to do the same, but they will eventually make a resounding return to the basement to hold things off here, for an extended play. Meanwhile, over on Beastcoast's side of things, we are bringing a very, very generic lineup of attacking operators. No reason why I would expect this to change, but if they spot anything they feel they need a little bit of extra utility for, they, of course, have the repick as an option for the next 10 or so seconds.
Yeah, love the double hard breach here, backing that up with some info as well as some frag grenades out of Anthony. We need to have a big game out of him today, especially running that Yana. That Air X is going to be quite useful in a lot of these gunfights, but as for the DZ camp, I love Skies in the position that he's playing for this squad, especially as kind of, victory lap kind of, thing that he has going on right now for his Siege career. He's kind of got Siege on a back burner right now. He's been asked to step back in for DarkZero, and not only that, but into more of a role that we saw him at the start of his career with teams like Elevate and teams like Obey Alliance, where he played a lot more of an aggressive role. Not only that, but he was quite good at it, back in the day. So we'll see how that works out for them. Skies is currently going to be at the bottom of the red stairwell here, waiting any BC member around the secret stairs.
We'll see a pretty slow wind-up regardless here. NJ are more likely going to be spotted out by this drone presence in just a moment. As I'm assuming, of course, there wasn't disruption sitting in the way, but Beastcoast will strike first here, catching the roaming mute in Canadian, sending him down and giving Beastcoast an opening 5v4 advantage to play with.
Well, they've gotten the initial pick here, but how is Beastcoast going to translate this? NJR staying aggressive towards the top of main. Zeno flirting back and forth with it, but won't get too aggressive. Wants to try and make sure that there's no more supporting units from DarkZero, and there is not, as the majority of them have rotated their way back downstairs. They'll give Beastcoast the map, but that doesn't mean that they've been able to clear it out just yet. They have to make sure to cross their T's and dot their I's before they get too far ahead of themselves and potentially lose bodies because of it.
It's all gone very, very quiet, especially from DZ's side of things after we've seen the loss of Canadian here. Definitely going to be wanting to take a very careful note of it. So they don't fall back even further than this, as that can make the bunker inside of the site itself downstairs for the basement quite weak and allow Beastcoast to get away with an opening round here. Aside from that, though, not going to see anyone taking any incredulous risks on the DZ side, just kind of showing their face, trying to slow things down from Beastcoast wherever they can. And overall, trying to get a better sense of where this attacking setup may be drifting towards. Should have a pretty good idea now, as they've taken full control of the first as well as second floor. Just need to make that transition into the basement and take out the remnants of DZ's defense down here.
DarkZero have some great crosses downstairs right now, though, and Beastcoast have got to disrupt these. Zeno, I don't know if he's fully out of utility. He's really going to want those concussions to try and apply pressure to some of this defensive setup of DarkZero. They still have some frag grenades and some stuns out of Slash, though, to try and assist the push. But Mark instead will do it through firepower. He takes down Pambazoo and weakens the defense yet again.
A swing from Skies there, is able to catch Surf before he even gets a sense of what's going on down in the basement, wrapping around that final corner of the main stairway. That brings Beastcoast still into a +1 advantage situation, but no longer that outright win that they were looking for. NJR with a very closely won fight, but a much more solid one right after that to knock out Zeno. It leaves it on Mark as well as Slash here, as it's brought down to a 2v1 here. Slash inside of the site. He has the capability to throw the case down on the ground, just not really the time or the positioning to do so. More likely going to be allowed to get away with it, but just as I say that, Skies sneaks in from the back flank over by main stairs and shuts it all down, locking in round number 1 for DZ.
Cool, calm, and collected for DarkZero. Love the transition back to the site and playing their crosses for the entry for Beastcoast. Yeah, Beastcoast have the entire map, but that doesn't mean that they have the means to actually get onto site. They have to take these fights, and DarkZero are much more prepared than BC is, especially for NJR's positioning around blue. He gets 2 isolated fights, and those are the words you never want to hear, especially uttered immediately after NJR, because it usually means he's gotten away with murder, John, and that's exactly what he's done in this instance. 2 people gunned down in blue for Beastcoast. DarkZero pulled the rug out from under them. They thought they had the round in the bag. They just had to try and go in and grasp it away from DZ and their remaining setup on site, but it was too strong to deal with, and now DarkZero will try and back this up on the CCTV defense.
These will shift from DarkZero up to the secondary expected site. We will see some changes coming into the Beastcoast lineup on repick to account for that. Quite a few of them, in fact.
What are we doing here?
Go ahead.
This is going to be fun. I see how this could go wrong in so many different ways, but like there's also so many ways that it could go right. This is going to be a little crazy. I really want to see what Slash wants to do with the smokes here, because obviously Anthony is supposed to play along with him to try and look through those and have some sort of influence. At least just looking at it and using my Siege brain, it really feels like they'd want garage control here to try and play from rafters, smoke across, force the defenders to try and move through that smoke or challenge through it, and allow Glass to do what he does best and start shooting some bananas. But we'll have to see what Beastcoast want to do with this. They've brought a lot of secondary hard breach here, so it's going to open up quite a few different avenues for them to try and abuse.
Skies continuing to wait for that first bit of pressure to work itself over towards the garage doorway. Not going to be able to find it so easily. Beastcoast obviously taking a bit more of a cautious note this time. With that said, they get a good amount of intel as to what that interior site setup looks like here towards CCTV. And they've got another good drone established by Anthony here as well. So lots of Overwatch already with all the intel they need. Just need to pull the trigger now.
I just noticed something really, really big about BC's lineup. They didn't bring any burn, and not only is there a Jaeger, but there's also a Wamai in play. So that means that potentially a decent amount of Slash's utility could get eaten up. Also, Surf is now dead to the world. Don't exactly know where that happened, but that's Capcan gone. No more smoke play, and that should be a bandit trick here. Yes, it's done. Canadian getting away with so much. He's going to swing into Zeno, gets gunned down, but it's a pretty even trade here. The only piece of hard breach utility left is Slash's pocket.
Important to keep in mind, of course, that Serve was also lost earlier in the rounds. They've already gotten rid of the Capital bullets that would have certainly been needed for Beastcoast to get a proper execute going here into the site. There's micro smokes to block off the line of sight from deeper into cache, alongside, of course, the incendiaries being able to force players out of position. Do not have that as an option now, and certainly is going to be missed as we see Skies and the rest of the team trying to line things up. Anthony, as well as first smoke, has been chucked out through the very small breach they've made for themselves. We're going to see a green screen deployed into that as well, just to add extra obscurity for the DZ side, make them uncertain of any play potential they may have inside of that positioning on the site. And as such, it's going to certainly cause them to keep this very, very passive position maintained, but Beastcoast doesn't really seem too confident in their own push behind this either. Most of that utility already having been deployed. I think they may have 1 or 2 additional smokes to try and chuck out here, but for the most part, no, never mind. Looking at it now, the last green screen just went out for Slash, and now he's dead. So, unfortunately, the gambit in the utility department for Beastcoast just has not really worked out. Maybe an opportunity for Zeno to trade it out, and indeed, he will find it. Gets himself that catwalk access, so maybe, just maybe, BC will still have a way to win this one out.
Well, they're still going to have Anthony on the cross, but not only that, Anthony actually has to try and commit through this rotation. Such a dangerous way to try and get to the site, but fortunately enough, Beastcoast have dealt some serious damage to DarkZero's setup. They'll take down NJR to triple kill for Zeno. His best play of the entire stage thus far, but Eclipse is trying to rip it from their hands. He'll take down one, no longer having smoke utility. Mark will deal the death blow, and Beastcoast will get their round.
So nice trade from Beastcoast there, and some really good fragging, just some good marksmanship skills coming in from Zeno, specifically being able to spot out the mistakes from DZ, capitalize on one. DZ may have gotten a little bit too overzealous about themselves and made sure they'd be put right back in their place for the team to shut down this round.
I was just awkward, I'd say, that you can say for both ends of that, especially with how the hard breach gets traded out there, and then we just have the glass sitting on plat. That just doesn't exactly, feel like a great place for him.
For all intents and purposes, the actual attacking strategy with regards to utility and everything from Beastcoast didn't work. Failed outright, and they went to this secondary plan of just, we'll just kind of slow walk in here and see what we can get. And for the most part, that worked tremendously better than what the original plan was there. As they just kind of, I think, overcomplicated things a little bit with the sense play alongside trying to use the glass to try and get those entries, which again had some promise behind it, but just couldn't make it work in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, well, the big thing with Glaz, as it always has been, is the first time that you hear the report of that rifle, you now know Glaz is on the field, and unless you killed somebody, nobody is going to look at a smoke. Nobody is trying to take an angle like that and take a fight because they know Glaz is more than likely on the other end, and they really can't do anything about it. So it was just a little bit of an awkward play from Beastcoast, but it throws DarkZero off enough to where they're able to get some very serious kills throughout the majority of that round. Starting things off with the kill onto Canadian. He was already getting so much done on that wall, but simply by being patient on the CCTV window, Beastcoast are able to pick him off, or specifically Zeno, who continued to snowball through that round and ended up with 3. So Beastcoast at least getting 1 round over on DarkZero and, moving up that round count for the stage, now on to 4.
All right, guys, we are in a tech pause real quickly here just to make sure you guys are updated. It is not a bug or anything, so we just had an issue, I think, with one of the players' mice, just an in-house issue that we're sorting out real quickly, and then we'll be jumping back into the game. So stick with us for hopefully just another 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll be good to move along. We just had to fix something on DZ's side. You guys might have already spotted it. The admins are working on it right now, so shouldn't be too much longer of a delay. But a good promise here for Beastcoast to put up a decent fight on Clubhouse, being able to take that decent control of CCTV. Potentially could see a retry of that from DZ, but there has been a more common philosophy adopted among most Siege teams where, generally speaking, we see them rotate along all 3 of their sites in the event they need to try and take a pause, that their coach or whoever the out-of-game leadership is going to be can kind of give them input on how all 3 of those sites played out. So we will wait and see if DZ wants to try and go for the full rotate back over into potentially Gym, or if they want to try it, bar stage.
Oh, you said the words.
But we could also, of course, rotate back over into that same site. If they feel that was a fluke attempt from the side of Beastcoast.
Fluke actually casts in Europe.
The verb fluke.
Oh, yeah. No captain in front of that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Then they'll try to potentially make another play at that. At the moment, we can actually spoil it a little bit here. As we can see the operator selection.
Are you about to tell me the ending of Breaking Bad?
No.
Okay.
It's a sad story. But
it's kind of badass all at the same time, though.
A bit sad at the end, but...
Sorry, I was the first thing that popped into my head was just I can't remember his name right now, but the main bald guy has a nuke. That's just really oversell the ending there. But yeah.
So it's actually, we've got the soft lock from DarkZero on bar and stage. at the moment. So just to spoil that detail a little bit, they potentially are going to be going to a bar and stage hold for round 3, which will be very interesting if we see that played out. This is a site that obviously, if you guys watch the other regions, such as like EU and APAC, they play it pretty commonly now over in that region, but if you're just a North American fan, it's not really one we tend to touch all that often, but I think maybe DZ going to try to take a page out of one of the other region's strat books here and deploy it for themselves as well. We've seen it a few times, just definitely not taking inside of the region as of yet.
I was trying to look through here really quickly, but I do believe that one of the, I think the only successful defense that XSET had was actually a bar gaming, well, actually, it is bar gaming on this one, isn't it?
Bar stage.
Bar stage. We have so many bars in this game.
There's a gaming like right next to somewhere in there.
I mean, pool's gaming, right?
Yeah.
It's an esport, I think. Just something like that. No, DarkZero are going to be going for this mid-floor defense, but not only that, they're going to be going with so much information, and that's really what you want on a site setup like this. You really need to know where the entry points are going to be from the offense, how you're going to be able to delay them, how you're going to get in the way of them on something like a top floor clear, things along those lines. And Beastcoast are going to be bringing a lot to the table to try and assist with this. We have the Flores for a lot of those hard-to-reach places with, deployable shields and whatever else DZ want to try and throw at them. But we also have things like Nook as well as Lion to either lock them down in the case of Lion or slink in that back door and try and deal with characters like Canadian on Echo that could potentially be over in Strip.
Either way, it's a very, very complicated setup that teams will have to go for on this hold, and I think that's kind of the hope from DZ, is they're hoping that things will get to be a little bit too complex for BC to properly tear apart. We'll have to wait and see how that's going to work out. Of course, Anthony has brought the Nook into the fold alongside a few other wrinkles for Beastcoast, such as the Lion, alongside, of course, the Flores there too. We talked about him on our previous match, about how he can be very useful for knocking out utility on more centered rooms inside of the building that you may not be able to just chuck a nade into from an outside window or something similar to that. So that's why we're going to see him brought in for this time by Zeno, and see what he can work towards. Eclipse actually feeling himself a little bit here. He's going to waltz right up to the new breach that's been made over on Jacuzzi Balcony.
Oh, no.
Won't be able to find a mark with the shotgun, but the Nitro will sing true to knock out Slash, as he's going to be stuck on drone still.
To this day, I still hate Jacuzzi Balcony. That place is just terrible to play. Whether you're, trying to climb up the side of the building, you're repelled or what have you, just so many different angles the defense can try and abuse you from, especially if you get caught off guard like that, right? Like, he has Mark above him, but Mark isn't in an advantageous position. The only fortunate thing that Beast Coast have going for them there is that Slash already got the wall open. So they don't have to worry too much about that. They don't have to dedicate more of Surf's utility to try and assist with that wall. So he can try and, open up some other avenues for them to work themselves through. And speaking of working their way through, Anthony's going to get gunned down from Skies, who's holding things down inside of logistics. DarkZero making mincemeat out of Beast Coast. It's down to just Surf. He's going to go for a swing onto, I do believe, Skies. Nope, it's going to be Pambazoo on the alibi this time around instead. Skies got an MPX and some very nice blonde hair. And Valkyrie will be awaiting Surf as well. He's going to work his way in through Jacuzzi, but really nothing to find. Doesn't even have the case as of right now. That's actually still outside. And we'll have to see how far he can get down this path.
Yeah, unfortunately, overall in this round, Beast Coast just kind of playing directly into the hands of DarkZero right from the very start of it, opening up Jacuzzi Balcony, trying to play into the extended setup that was basically made to waste time at the end of the day. So that's exactly what they do. The Nitro kill, is perfect, of course, to be able to take things down right at the start. And then there was a hope, I believe, in Beast Coast comms that Anthony would have been able to make impact on the flank. And there was good reason for Anthony himself to believe he would have been able to do it. Got himself all the way through construction and, of course, CCTV without too much of a problem. So he's like, oh, yeah, there's no way they know I'm coming. Unfortunately, he learns a lesson very quickly. As soon as he makes a step into logistics, he is shut down. Rest of the team is still operating under the assumption like, oh, he's got our back flank. We're good to make a move here. And unfortunately, it just falls to pieces from that point forward.
Well, the other thing is you got to give it up to Skies in that for that sixth sense for the construction rotate. But also on top of that, a quick reminder, Nook isn't as quiet doing certain things as she is doing other things. So the fact that she had to hop through that rotation was actually the giveaway that Nook is more than likely around, or somebody is around logistics. And that's why Sky starts motioning that way. He more than likely heard that hop inside of red into logistics, and he was like, oh, that's not supposed to be happening. He was over here. And he finds himself a Nook. So Anthony gets caught off guard trying to make that play. And honestly, it was pretty good timing with what was going on with Beast Coast, over by the breach. But you got to get those kills, man. That's that game-changing moment right there. Anthony gets Skies, and now DarkZero have to worry about two different fronts at the same time, but instead he shuts that down immediately, and now there's just some people outside of a wall that's, really easy to die from if you try and push.
DZ making their return now to the basement site, as of course they closed that one out to start this matchup up and then went upstairs into CCTV. That is where, of course, Beastcoast found their own success and was able to take a round for themselves. And then we finished out the rotation for DZ, of course, back down in bar and stage where you just saw the last round unfold. So now finally going to make a repeat of that rotation, heading back down to the basement for the first time since round number 1. We'll see if they'll find success and be able to lock in a 3-1 scoreline, really starting to take control of the lead here, or if Beastcoast will be able to keep it close and make some corrections for their last attempt. Gonna be tough to do, as once again, there's many elements to deal with in this clear, including Canadian roaming out and about here on the first floor. With that said, though, credit to Beastcoast. They already dealt with this pretty easily back on round number 1, so it's just a repeat process here now.
And if you do remember back to the game that DZ ended up losing against the Sonics, we saw Canadian in a very similar position. So not only do we can we kind of look forward into the round and see what's happening, but also Beastcoast more than likely having some research done on this setup. So they should know that's a pretty stacked roam game here, all supporting Canadian. You have that player up top holding on red, but Canadian's been able to work this position time and time again and able to get quite a bit done with it. We did see one round specifically go awry there where he wasn't able to rotate back to site and help them in any influential way, and it ended up with Canadian being the lone soul off of site. But up against Beastcoast, this roam game already starting to pay off as this timer continues to dwindle. We're almost about halfway through the round already.
Indeed, as Beastcoast take a very slow route on this one here, mainly due to the massive amount of movement we're seeing from DarkZero all across the map right now, whether it's Canadian or someone else. It won't matter, apparently, as Surf's just going to insert himself inside of stock downstairs and knock out Canadian once again, as he just cannot get away with anything at the start of these rounds. Nice Nitro to follow up. Unfortunately, Surf reads into that one and is able to get to a safe distance.
The good news is that there's quite a bit of damage dealt to Surf. Canadian already practically got his job done. There's going to be down some goo mines and another gun at the end of the day. This is completely doable for DarkZero, and in fact, this looks quite similar to what we had seen previously. Beastcoast up on man advantage, but the timer is the factor here. We know that DZ in these low times are very good at holding these crosses on site and can get some very big kills onto BC. I believe that was Anthony's clone working its way through blue, but he'll discover nothing as the majority of these DZ players are hampering down inside of Church, as the Church wall is actually going to get decimated by 3 separate Selma charges.
Clip's going to get hyper-aggressive in this as well. Wants to try and stem the tide as much as possible, as he's going to lose a lot of real estate if he gives up this ground. At the moment, it's working, holding back Zeno and I believe one other member of the Beastcoast roster. At the same time, DZ had outright taken down another member of the team on the back flank, but now Mark going to be able to make his own insertion. And finally, Eclipse will also fall due to Blue being accessible by the rest of this team as well, but time very, very low. Mark needs to secure it now, and thankfully that actually won't be needed. Anthony will shut it out instead as Beastcoast claim a second attacking round.
Very well done from BC. There was definitely some moments there that if DZ were able to land some crucial shots, we more than likely see a different result, but Beastcoast able to mitigate damage on their entry. And not only that, Anthony finally able to make a backdoor play. He vents right in behind him into blue, able to take down the last 2 members of DarkZero. So Beastcoast tie things up. It looks like we're going to have a ball game here on Coast, oh my goodness, on Clubhouse. It's Beastcoast's fault. They have Coast in their name.
Yeah.
They just had to take out Coastline, right? They just had to make it harder for everybody.
So DZ going to make that reattempt onto the basement hold. Not going to see any huge departure from the operator lineup just yet. And the same what we said for Beastcoast, of course, since they won, of course. So why would they change anything up since it worked for them? Away from that, though, DZ curious to see if they'll try to pull back the aggression at all. It's been 2 times now the Canadians been caught out on a roam game. To be fair, the last round wasted a good amount of time, and as you said, traded some good damage, but it still left the team all that much weaker when it came to the actual site execute. So possibility we could see that called back a little bit, or potentially doubled down upon, as of course we're seeing him set up his own utility back upstairs in gym now, so we could be seeing that bit of an extension for the team to play this one out yet again and try to waste all that time. This time hopefully able to actually catch Beastcoast when they get to the point that they're ready to attack the basement.
Well, DZ showing a very similar face to what we'd seen previously, but Beastcoast going to be shifting gears here. Anthony's going to have Doke now, and this is going to throw a wrench into the cogs of DarkZero's plan. Anthony, with those logic bombs, is not only going to be able to send a call sign throughout the entire map, making the clear easier for Beastcoast, but he'll also be taking all of the info game away from DarkZero. Nobody can any longer be on cameras or anything of the sort, as Dokkaebi rips that ability away. And make sure that even if you are on Do Not Disturb, you are getting those notifications. So Beastcoast, with that in mind, will start up the clear after that first logic bomb. They know that the majority of this is dealt with. Zeno obviously still worried about these stairwells and the potential for DarkZero members to be lying in wait.
Already a minute gone by. Not a whole lot of clear has been accomplished just yet by Beastcoast, but we're going to see that pace increase quite rapidly now that the time is starting to shrink down a little bit lower. Mark starting to open up the windows, of course, leading into both stock as well as the inside of kitchen. Trying to potentially set himself up for some openings there if they want to try to play the top downs. We haven't really seen BC shift into that mindset yet where they really want to try to play onto that and optimize their nade usage. Of course, not really going to see any frags brought anyway, so more than likely going to be avoiding it as a result of that. Canadian still waiting for this play to potentially open up those. He's prime with the nitro cell, ready to send it back. The first person that tries to slaps open the floor above him, but as I was just mentioning, Beastcoast not really playing into that too much. Probably not going to be a lot of play opportunity here for Canadian. Zeno will take a large amount of damage, I believe, as he tries to take his first steps out at the bottom of main stairs there. He'll be dropped down to about 50 HP from that play.
Oh, this is going to be difficult for Beastcoast, John. They're flying blind here. Look at the drone count. Only 2 drones remaining, and Zeno's piloting one of them. So fortunately enough, they'll at least know where Pambazoo is, and kind of what Canadian's doing in the back of Armory, but its last drone, at least its last leg, now down inside of Church. They have an impact to try and deal with that Selma. Pambazoo, I do believe, trying to get the last drone. He won't be able to stifle it. Instead, it's going to be the pressure from Beast Coast. They have to swing into this, and they've caught them off guard, but oh no, it's actually going to be the Prisma to assist in taking down the member of Beast Coast. The only person in that room that wasn't Rio gets a bullet through the brain, and BC are left because of it. NJR will take down one. It's up to Mark as he's going to try and clamber down the stairwell for main, but he realizes the case is over on the Moto's side, so he's going to shift over and try and play through this hatch instead. He'll more than likely drop into his demise as bullets fly back and forth, but fortunately for Mark's sake, he will stay alive. He does have those EMPs, but Sky's there for the kill and the assist from the remaining members of DarkZero. A bang-up job in that round for DZ.
Fortunately, it's not a whole lot of play potential for Mark. You saw him taking up position in the kitchen. I mentioned it earlier, too, about when we were actually going to be seeing those holes being made to potentially flush out Canadian or anybody else who wanted to play deep into Arsenal, but shows up just way too late, unfortunately, and the support is nowhere near enough. The team was struggling in other areas as well, such as that wall leading into Church coming out through the bottom of the stairs from Moto. So, once again, a lot of problems that Beast Coast had to deal with and just not enough time to properly locate them. So, DZ finally gets a successful basement defense, second one that is for themselves, and they're going to move upstairs here into Jam and Bedroom for the first time in this half on the final round of the half.
Yeah, pretty awkward round there for Beast Coast, especially when it finally came down to the entry, right? Just no info game to really influence
also,
anything.
Like, no one really seemed like they wanted to go in. Like, it didn't really seem like they were ready for it, basically.
Yeah, very, very low time. No one really wanted to take those fights, and finally when they do, they shoot the only thing that isn't a real person. You really got to feel for Beast Coast on that entry there for Church, because, you know, if they do get that initial kill onto DarkZero, and there was a very big chance that they do, because all of DZ weren't suspecting them, even at a low time there, which was a little awkward for me personally, just no one watching the Moto door, and there's like 20 seconds left, but it is what it is. DZ are still able to take down Beast Coast because of those missteps, and now they're shifting upstairs to try and take control of Gym and Bedroom.
The usual suspect here on the defense for a Gym and Bedroom defense. We're actually going to have a pulse coming in there for Canadian as well.
No Frost, though.
Yeah, no Frost to try and fend off some of those early rotates. You'll get into areas like Lodgy and whatnot, so that's where Canadian will more than likely take its place in the pulse and try and give them better intel. But what are we going on over here towards the main stairs? Oh, Nitro Cell goes flying as well. A little bit too far off the mark, though, as I think the timing works out for Beast Coast, and they're able to avoid a premature death.
That was a pretty good pun, as that actually was Mark that climbed up the side of that building. So I know you didn't, mean to do it, but it was still very well accepted. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Gonna have the pulse play here for Jacuzzi, but we do know how this went the last time. Slash more than likely aware that he could be blown sky high yet again. You can see him just waiting for any of the BC team to actually rotate and assist him with this wall. We do have the Selmas eating up the other side of the building, getting CCTV open, Logi hatch already done. So Beast Coast, at least for the early game, getting all of their boxes checked. It seems like the Jacuzzi wall will more than likely be the last effort.
It's got great intel coming out from Canadian. Knows for sure they've got the setup ready to go and ready to more than likely open up this wall at a moment's notice. They're going to make the attempt for it now. Canadian here still in the hot zone. Going to try to give out the intel on a moment-by-moment basis. It just does not work. Fading over two. Kills Zeno. It's Slash that gets the third one there. Not Zeno's. Some good support as he very well may have saved Zeno's life here. He's not going to take a risk on that though at this point. Needs someone else to establish the cross before he can potentially go back to pick up his teammate. But either way, the damage is done and an overzealous DarkZero has paid the price.
You can say that again. 3 people occupying the same wall and their fate all the same, all just to get Zeno down. And he's been picked back up, so it's still a 5 versus 2. Make it a 5 versus 1 after Eclipse loses his head. It's all up to Skies. Frag grenade here, holding him for CCTV. Tries to turn on a dime, but Surf will get him instead. It's a flawless round for Beastcoast.
So that'll tie us up, I believe, at 3-3. Nicely done from Beastcoast here on that round specifically. Unfortunately, DarkZero kind of setting themselves up for that one as they take the challenge. You're going to see it here on the replay. Walking out through Jacuzzi. Obviously, the players on Beastcoast are more than ready for that, even with the Pulse intel coming out. So this play from DZ, unfortunately, just sets them up for defeat.
Well, it does actually look like Beastcoast have taken their sensu beans, my friend, because as of now, they have officially matched the same amount of rounds that they had throughout the entirety of Stage 3 in one game. I mean, you can laugh if you want to. That's crazy. The fact that they only had 3 rounds in the first 2 games and now up against DarkZero is 3-3 on Clubhouse. And you got to remember, Canadian specifically, not a slouch on this map. This is probably one of his best shot-calling maps that he has in his arsenal.
So we'll see if Beastcoast can find as much strength on the defensive side now, as generally speaking, this map does tend to trend a little bit more towards the defenders. Obviously, with the new patch in play, some of that gets shaken up into the air from time to time with metas shifting around as well. Haven't seen this map played out too much just yet, but again, given the tradition, no reason why we'd expect for it to depart too heavily from its defender-sided nature. So Beastcoast probably feeling very happy about themselves that they're able to equalize the scoreline coming off their own attacking side. Now can potentially take an early lead with a successful basement defense, if they can get that, of course.
Yes, indeed. Beastcoast start off on the right foot for their offensive side, but can they do it for the defense? It's going to be an extended hold here all the way upstairs, as to be expected for Club. They want to try and delay as long as they can on this DZ offense. This will attempt to clear the building. Beastcoast are going to have a couple of very similar pillars, minus the Goyo. That's not something we saw very often, but neither did NJR till a moment ago when he lost the gun battle up against Surf. We'll end up getting the opener for the defense. DarkZero haven't even begun breaking up this top floor, and they're already down one of their most crucial ops.
Certainly not the greatest start to things for DarkZero. Unfortunately, not going to have the easiest time trying to hunt down the extended game as a result of that. When you mentioned it there, the Jackal now being eliminated gives free roam capability to Mark and anyone else that's still positioning themselves on the first and second floor to try and waste out that additional time. Already a minute gone from the clock here. And plenty more still to be drained out due to the very slow pace that DZ will have to have on their own clear due to the result of the lost NJR.
Well, Eclipse knew just how aggro Beastcoast could have potentially have been there, and will hightail it away before he blows the CCTV wall. But DZ, they're starting to get taken down from off of sight now. Nitro cells abound to at least be able to secure one, and now Surf taking some heat from the DZ angle, but they haven't been able to secure it just yet. Sky is constantly moving back and forth inside of Garage as well, but he hasn't found a means to actually work his way forward and get anything worthwhile done for DarkZero. He's going to be able to at least get rid of the Banshee here inside of Blue, but obviously that massive explosion will give away his positioning, and they'll more than likely be aware that a member of DarkZero wants to try and get control of Blue. All the while, this timer continues to eat at the sides of DarkZero. Pambazoo will be able to pick up at least one member, trying to bring this back to a much more even playing field, but as of now, still down 4-3.
Sky's going to be waiting for an opportunity to strike back, but Panba will end up finding it first, knocking out Mark, and another one for Panba as well, as he's been unleashed on the interior of the site. He will be caught by Zeno, of course, trying to go a little bit deeper there to move himself all the way into Church, but regardless, an opportunity has been opened up. Sky's a nice pick as well, looking for one more, and he really gets it, but what's more important is allowed for this to happen. Eclipse gets the plant, and even better, is able to get the follow-through to take out the last player alive on Beastcoast as well. DarkZero with a rocky few rounds here, but they are able to rebound on the first of their attack to still maintain the lead at 4-3.
You got to give it up to DarkZero for the ultimate patience game there. You know, not really able to get too much done in the first minute and a half, but really pulling it back when they needed it most, especially for Pambazoo on the entry to the actual site. And that's not a position that's easy to get that done either. He's playing that strictly off of the kitchen hash, which if you're playing the basement, that is the one thing that every defender is so very aware of. Somebody's going to potentially drop from here, somebody's going to take an angle or anything in between, but yet Pambazoo is still able to muster a triple kill for DarkZero. Not only that, set them up for victory, distracting quite a few people, allowing Skies to finally slip through the cracks into blue and have some serious influence over Xeno's position. Very well done from DZ as we move into round 8.
So with DZ back in control of the lead, they're going to need to take control of their operator lineup here as well. I believe they made the assumption that Beastcoast were going to switch to an upstairs hold instead of CCTV. That would explain, of course, we had a few of these more interesting picks coming in specifically for Canadian there, but they're going to end up repicking it. NJR back on the Jackal, Canadian back on the Buck, Skies over to the Yana one more time, and of course Panba onto the Sledge, since we are going to have that reattempt onto the basement. Defense here from the players on Beastcoast. A few changes in Beastcoast lineup as well, but nothing tectonically shifting here as they're just going to try to slow things down a little bit. Xeno, of course, bringing those Banshees into the fold to try and stop it, and of course Surf adding a little bit more intel with the Valkyrie cameras being added to the defensive lineup too.
Always a big fan of the Banshees coming in. Malusi, one of the strongest ops that we have on defense, and never a bad time to bring her either, especially since she has that BEP as well as, I do believe, impacts as her secondary, so she can do so much for your defensive squad.
Wow.
Nitrocell out, no damage either to the DarkZero lineup. Actually quite surprised by that one. It seemed like Mark had the lineup, but not going to pay off, unfortunately enough, for Beastcoast. They do still have this top floor defense working swimmingly for them. Surf is going to be over here inside of Cash, and no one bearing down on his location just yet. But as soon as I say that, Eclipse is going to be popping open the CCTV wall, so it seems to be just a time thing, not really as a if it's going to happen type of beat. So Beastcoast will stick to their guns on their roam here. DarkZero not donning the doorstep just yet.
Beastcoast, though, still very patiently waiting from their extended positions. Mark is going to get caught out, I believe, over the top of Jim, so he'll be forced to rotate away over towards Construction. NJR, of course, already self-inserted all the way towards Logi through the hatch, but he's very much alone in this position. So we'll wait to see if they can catch any of the movement from players like Mark, potentially when they try to move downstairs. You can see here as well, Surf set up in a little bit of a position to try to counter out players that may be trying to go over to the hatch position where Mark would rotate into. The patience from NJR pays off, though, as he's going to end up finding Mark first, taking him down as he attempts to move out of that bathroom, and sets up DZ as well for a 5v4. Still plenty of players to knock out, though, and a little over a minute to go, so DZ will need to start to speed things up pretty soon.
Yeah, DarkZero are lurching to the finish line, but that doesn't mean that they can cross, or rather can't cross in first place. Some nice angles here adopted by the Buck. It's going to apply a lot of pressure to Surf, force his move, and Skies will take him down. As we were talking about earlier, Skies back into a position where we saw him very early in his career, and honestly, one of the most fun people to watch in an aggressive position. Skies always fantastic decision-making when it comes to more of these aggro looks, and able to at least get one, looking to go for the drop with Pambazoo and everybody else as they'll try and swing and take down these players. Xeno will be able to at least take out Skies. The pistol won't get it for Eclipse, though. And now the back of Armory open for the taking. Slash has something to say about this, though. Constant Marks out. He's the lone soul for Beastcoast. They know exactly where he is as well. The plant will start, but it'll be NJR through the wall of Armory to take him down. Eclipse will shake off that round, and DarkZero will take it.
DarkZero going to be feeling a lot more confident about themselves probably after these two successful basement attacks. I had to take it very, very carefully to make sure they didn't get tripped up. Was otherwise the fairly successful shenanigans that Beastcoast had been deploying towards on the attacking side. For the defense, though, it is not working nearly as much. So a much more solid lead has been put up by our attackers here for the second half, of course. And that leaves Beastcoast somewhat struggling to try to figure out where they can net this first round. They're going to attempt to do it upstairs in gym and bedroom. Is 2 times in a row on the basement defense. Not even coming close, unfortunately, as well. It's just not going to leave them with enough confidence to go for it a third time.
Beastcoast on the offenses were doing a pretty bang-up job, I'd say, especially with some of the initial picks that they were able to get and some of the translations that we saw Beastcoast go for inside of their rounds. But now that DarkZero's on the offense and they have control over this pacing, Beastcoast hasn't been able to deal, like a death nail or anything to DarkZero inside of a round to where it's just so overly complicated. They really don't have a means to be able to get back into it. DarkZero constantly ahead of the curve when it comes to Beastcoast. Even if the man count is equal. DarkZero still have quite a bit of what they need in order to enact themselves upon the site later into the round and pull that back. So for Beastcoast, it's really an attempt to try and get in front of DarkZero's game plan, but we need to see how they can potentially switch this up. We haven't really seen a great job of, trying to find refrag potential or anything of the sort, so it might be a big change in the means of how they're trying to set up some of these sites and how they're just trying to position themselves around each other. But kind of a bigger fold here, I'd say, is Canadian. He's going to actually go back to the colleague that we saw him using last week on Club.
Now, this is, of course, going to be one of the few operators that has the capability to actually destroy gadgets outright through walls via her utility, so that may be part of why they're trying to bring this one in. Of course, specifically for Gym Bedroom, the overwatch from the outside of the two main repel points as well is going to be potentially a way for Canadian to set himself up for some early downs when things get chaotic inside of the site scramble. A lot of reasons, actually, why she could potentially be brought in, but still a very strange pick when we do see her, of course. That's very, very rare, but I think in this situation, it should work pretty well for DZ's attacking lineup. It's just going to be a little rough if they lose a few players on the roam clear here. Then they definitely would have probably liked to have a more traditional operator. Thankfully, things are working out in regards to that. Skies will be able to take down Slash and get a nice start going for DZ.
Well, he's going to set up the zero cam as well. I don't know if Surf got that. It's like 1 or 2 plays he could have potentially went for there. Try and kill the man that just set the cam, or kill the cam and get out of there before somebody knows that you're in the area. Surf, he's taking so much heat, and he's going to stay in the lane as well. An ego on this guy. Pambazu will gun him to the ground, as he doesn't expect anybody to be on repel. DarkZero setting themselves up for victory here in round 9.
Members of DarkZero, indeed, just looking for that final setup to get themselves there. They're pretty much all but ready to move in. As we can see, the last few members of Beastcoast try to get themselves out of the hot zone. You can now already tell Pamba has moved fully into the site, taking control. Mark's not even going to realize they've lost that site control as well, so he'll go down outright to Pamba. Zeno is the only one left, as the other teammate for BC also fell in that scramble. And Zeno won't even see what hit him as Pamba continues his conquest into construction to take out the last player on BC. That's DZ now, surging ahead with just one more round to go.
DarkZero didn't have to put a single person inside of that building on an aggressive front minus Skies, and Skies was only there to stop the rat downstairs.
I mean, that's one of the benefits of Cali, right? Because to an extent, you're going to have a similar effect to Glass, where it's like, oh, I'm not peeking that.
That's true, yeah.
Especially for the windows in sight.
Yeah, exactly. So it is quite the big threat when Kali is on the field like that, but past that, it only becomes difficult for Kali when it comes to like CQC fights. You really have to try and benefit off of that secondary pistol. Luckily enough, she has a fantastic secondary pistol, but that's when obviously kind of the wheels fall off the sniper rifle. And even inside of that round, you saw Canadian only got a kill with the secondary pistol, but it's exactly what you were talking about.
It's more the fear.
Having that pressure out there, instilling the fear of God in the defense and making sure they know if they try and hop out, they're going to eat a magnum bullet. It's definitely something to try and force the defense to adhere to caution. Works out well for DarkZero, up 6-3 right now after they decimate the defensive setup of BC in the last round.
DC was expecting to see another upstairs defense show up here. To an extent, you're still going to get that from Beastcoast, of course, but it's just going to be, I believe we're in bar, actually, for this hold down.
We are indeed. Bar billiards, not bar gaming, remember. Bar billiards.
So we're going to see how the players on Beastcoast will be able to extend themselves out to appropriate this setup for
bar
themselves.
Stage. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, bar. I was about to say, didn't want to correct you in the moment.
Hey.
Either way.
Professional, by the way.
Semantics. As we move deeper into this round, we are going to see, of course, that very slow and cautious approach from DarkZero. They know that Beastcoast are out and about. They should have been able to figure that out pretty quickly from just their general droning that was done in the drone phase itself. But where exactly Beastcoast are going to try to take some risks and maybe even hop out, that is still yet to be seen. And the operator lineup probably throwing them off a little bit as well. Not something we've seen really from Beastcoast so far throughout this one, so they do have to watch out for quite a few of these utility pieces and analyze the interior building setup before they try to get too adventurous.
All right, well, Skies throwing himself around this operator roulette. Still actually land on Thatcher for this one. I do believe this is going to be the first time that we've seen Thatcher inside of this game, and this EMP is going to be the utmost assistance in getting these walls open. DarkZero also worried about what's going on over on the cash side, and they'll find themselves a Legion. That'll be Surf awaiting the arrival of DarkZero.
Surf just waiting for the lineup to happen, and he's going to get it perfectly. Panba tries to creep his head out just a millimeter, but it's a millimeter too much. Surf cuts it off here. Still no additional counter pressure coming out against him as well. We have two other players trying to work their way back in from the top garage catwalk, as well as the breach that had been made. But Surf, he's already adjusted for this, backed up, and now that's the case getting dropped by him as Eclipse goes a bit too far out to try to take the next duel.
Yeah, sticking their neck out, and it continues to get chopped at by Beastcoast. Slash will take down Canadian. DarkZero not allowed to cross the finish line just yet, especially if Beastcoast have something to say about it. And JR and Skies will have to try and get through the thick of these woods, as Skies will be over in cons on his lonesome. He's got two people bearing down on his location. NJR will take out one. Skies is immediately going to hightail it towards the outside window here for CCTV, but instead I do believe that they're rotating down low. Might potentially try and go for this stage plant here, and JR can potentially try and take out Slash, but there's so many long angles to worry about downstairs. It's going to be hard fought for DarkZero either way you slice it. And JR will at least be able to get control of Billiards, but Surf going to make mincemeat of him. It's a triple kill for him on the round, make it a quad as he pre-fires Skies off the angle and stage. Beastcoast stay alive.
Incredibly successful upstairs hold from Beastcoast, and one that I think DarkZero expected to be a little bit more straightforward there, trying to walk themselves into it, just not ready for the immediate challenges being thrown at them from the CCTV side, and they just continue to bleed players down past that point, thinking that Beastcoast would be playing this very conservative, very held-back style, but that's not the way you win a bar stage defense. It's very much the opposite will oftentimes excel you into a winning spot, and that's how Beastcoast managed to get things done. DarkZero thrown for a loop there, but it's only for one round. We still have two more that Beastcoast need to make up for, and this is the big problem now for Beastcoast. That's the only site upstairs in bar that they've found success so far in this half.
Yes, indeed. And now we head back down low. But good news is that we've got some solid denial as well as some solid slowdown for Beastcoast, trying to get in front of DarkZero here. We do have those Banshees, but the biggest factor of this obviously being the info game that BC are bringing to the table, and the likes of Valkyrie and Pulse. We're looking for Slash especially to get away with a lot here. Surf is more set it and forget it. He'll more than likely be allowed to just roam around, potentially try and get some kills here and slow down DarkZero in that way. So he'll set up the rest of his cameras as DarkZero will get out and onto the field. We're going to have the Jackal back into play, but everything else making quite a bit of sense. Sky is going to continue to rotate around to different ops as he will allocate himself to the Nook this time.
Time will continue to tick down. We will have the players from DarkZero still being very cautious about their opening moves here, setting themselves up for success already. On the dirt tunnel walk-in that we can see at least the sledge Panba is going to be set up prematurely to try to work his way into. The rest of the team wants to try and go for a bit of a top-down approach. You can see Eclipse is going to be heading up to the roof to try and open up the hatch there. Flush out the positions for Mark and a few of the other players on Beastcoast. Will take a lot to burn them out, those. They'll certainly be brimming with confidence after the events of the previous round here. They know they can take challenges against them in those unexpected positions, but they need to do it sooner rather than later. If they give DZ all of this time, there's no longer the restriction of the first floor bar area, of course, being cut off since it's going to be the site, so DZ should be able to find out the positions of Mark and these other players relatively quickly, and that means that their time to strike is going to be limited.
Well, let's also act like it's not hidden either, because they more than likely know that there's two members upstairs. This is just the default roam strategy for Clubhouse. You usually have two bodies up top, and DarkZero want to try and get ahead of them and make sure they're not allowed to rotate out, because these are practically free kills if they're able to cut them off. But looks like main stairs is still right for the taking for BC, as you know, at least be able to get control at the bottom of it, pseudo guaranteeing that they'll be able to make it back to site. Canadian taking a lot of heat here, putting himself in hot water inside of kitchen, about half of his HP gone. But DarkZero has a lot going on all at once right now. NJR as well as Skies both clearing out up top. Don't know if Surf got found or Mark, but we'll just have to see.
They're still waiting for a chance to strike. Has not been able to get it just yet here, but time getting low now. That's exactly what Beastcoast wants to have happen here. DarkZero be forced into a scramble to execute where they're going to make mistakes and where Beastcoast players are going to go unnoticed, and they can pop out and pick up some free kills on their own that hopefully won't be traded back. DarkZero, very, very slow lead up to this one, and we can see NJR getting very close to the position of at least one of the members of Beastcoast sitting further down those main stairs positions, but it looks like that player may have given that up, fell back further into the site. Regardless, it's going to be Slash that finally gets the first kill of the round at only 40 seconds to go.
Huge issue now for DarkZero. Beastcoast with so many bodies on site are able to try and slow down the entire take all at once. And not only that, DarkZero have lost every fight minus Eclipse flying in. Pambazoo with some big kills though. We've somehow been able to get this to a 2v2, and not only that, Eclipse quite close to Pamba, but no, he actually has to try and shift across. He's actually going to try and combat the man upstairs. He gets some shots. He'll take down Slash. DarkZero, there's no way you can get it done here. Mark, he gets the kill, but he can't get it onto Pambazoo. Oh my, the saving grace of DarkZero throughout all of Clubhouse does it again, as DZ will take Dubhouse.
So DZ are able to recover, closing out that last round. Quite a scrappy few final rounds as we got towards the tail end of our first half, of course, and finished off this game as well. But it got the job done at the end of the day, and that's probably exactly what DZ just wanted to have happen here. Obviously, not the best circumstance having to swap a player out just a few days back, so working with some issues absolutely as a result of that. But given their opponent, they still wanted the victory here today, and they were able to find it. Regardless though, props to Beastcoast as well. A massive increase in their own performance. Just looking at last week's games versus this one, their attacks looking much more promising, and their defense, given time, I think has some workings in it as well.
Absolutely. They've eclipsed what they've been able to do thus far throughout the stage, so very happy for Beastcoast. But for DarkZero having Sky step in and look so good already, I think that we can potentially see DZ trying to make a major run again, but we'll just have to see. But that's going to do it for BZ versus DarkZero. We're going to send you to a short break, and we'll be back with our analyst desk.
And just like that, another win for DarkZero. Beastcoast, unfortunately for them, another loss, 0-3 on the stage right now. But they looked better, I think, this week than we saw last week. Zeno showed up a little bit more. They made DZ work for it a bit at least, right?
Yeah, it's nice to see them winning a couple of rounds. They win their first attack round as well today, so congratulations, Beastcoast, on that. Ultimately, still a lot of problems, I think, with the roster, but at least it's not like 7-1, 7-2.
True enough. Well, we got NJR standing by over in Vegas to talk a little bit about that last game. NJR, congrats on the win today, but you did have to work for it a little bit. Were you a little bit surprised at all by anything Beastcoast threw at you today?
No, not really.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
NJ, I know you guys played the same map back-to-back, right? You were on Clubhouse last week against the Sonics as well. For you, especially on attack, that was kind of a struggling map for you. What did you try to change between the last time you played Clubhouse and today to have a bit more of an impact on attack?
I mean, I think it was just kind of an off game for me. Like, our attacks were struggling. Just kind of went that way. Didn't have the best game.
What's it like going from, you've been playing with Paul since you joined DZ, he's been on the team forever, to now all of a sudden Skies is there, and obviously Skies is, in the past, has kind of been more of like an IGL, kind of a big voice on the team. Obviously, I would assume with Canadian, he's maybe not doing that. Is it taking some getting used to, just seeing Skies there, obviously different play styles, or do you feel like he's just kind of stepping into the role and doing, whatever you guys need him to do?
I feel like Alex has slotted in like really well with us, actually. He's been very vocal about not really wanting a leadership role, and I think he's been very comfortable in our scrims, and obviously in the game he played very well. So I think so far everything is going really good, and it's very refreshing for us, I think.
For you guys, when it comes towards future expectations, obviously trying to get back in the top 4 and going for major contention is on the cards. But with the whole thing surrounding both Hyper and Skies happening at the same time, would you just be happy if you were able to get back to a point where you feel like your play is stabilizing again, or do you still want to try to push as hard as you can with the major with Skies on the team?
I mean, obviously an unfortunate situation, but I think we are still all very confident. Practice has been going really well, so I think very soon we're going to be just about where we left off. So I think we're still pushing.
All right, there you go. Well, pushing through for a win today. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us a little bit. Good luck in the match tomorrow.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
You too. All right, NJR from Team DarkZero. 7-4 victory over Beastcoast. As we said earlier, Beastcoast, doing a little bit better than we saw them do last week. To me, the big thing here is Zeno with the 9-7 score line, finally kind of making something happen. We were wondering when he was going to start to kind of show up a little bit. It's tough. You're in the pro league now. There's a lot of pressure. Your team is losing. It's a lot to take kind of as a new player. But I think he kind of, even though they didn't win the match, he did finally kind of show why he deserves a spot here today.
Yeah, I'm excited that Zeno is at least having a decent game here today. Yeah. Obviously, he's a player that I was really excited about joining the league. I know a lot of people have kind of talked up Zeno as maybe not, the #1 pick, but number 2, number 3 out of CL. Those are things that people have said.
Sure, yeah.
So to finally see him having a decent game, I love that from him. Still, obviously, more to work on as a team perspective, but nicely he's going 1-0 in entry and finally positive on the KD.
I think it's just good to see DarkZero continuing to find success with a guy who's not Hyper, who's been injected into their system for quite some time. I do wonder how much culture shock it is for Skies to come into a DZ, whole structure that isn't the exact same thing that it was back when he was still a player. There are obviously some similarities, but it's been a really long time since he was in that system. It's been over a year. So for him to kind of come back into things on short notice, say that he was doing the team a favor by coming back into it and still put up a 9-6 scoreline, playing mostly Nook on attack, it does seem like he's slotting into what Hyper was doing, like mostly on a 1-for-1 basis. But still, I would have totally expected Skies to have been out of the game for so long and then maybe have a bit of a slump to start things off. Not the case, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, even with Skies playing, and he honestly was one of their better performers today, I feel like DZ are not happy with that game at all. They had 2 multi-man advantages that they ended up bringing back and winning. Otherwise, they could have been down, I think, 6-5 at one point. On the side of Beastcoast, I think is really good for Zeno, his confidence level as, a rookie player to kind of, he had a good game, 9-7, got his first entry kill in the league. The problem is going to remain with Beastcoast. Once again, Anthony's going 3-8. He's playing roles that he needs to get kills on. He's literally getting out-fragged by their coach. It's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we got to call it like we see it. And I mean, like, that's definitely something where if you're Beastcoast, you're getting a little bit worried. You got to either find a way to step it up or you got to, again, make some changes. Beastcoast, a team that had a lot of changes coming into 2022. What do you do after stage 3 now with the way things are going?
Yeah, I don't know. For Beastcoast, you're kind of in a situation where, like, last year they were kind of not at the top of the league, right? And then, they've been making changes. Sweater was brought into the roster. That was kind of supposed to fix things for Beastcoast. Clearly it didn't. Now they're back here with a couple new rookies, Zeno coming in. I do have high hopes for Verta, right? If Verta can jump into this roster, maybe he can be, Verta's a great player in Challenger League, and I think he can be somebody who can start to change things for Beastcoast, but I think there's still a long journey ahead.
I guess I just don't know what the future plan for Beastcoast is right now. I don't know if you're just trying to survive through as much of the stage as possible, and then when Verta comes back in, you actually understand how you're supposed to work together as a team, or are you playing with the expectation that he's not going to show up, and then you go to the qualifiers, but we know how cruel of a mistress SI qualifiers are typically. So are you playing for that with expectations to do well there? Are you just trying to last through the rest of this year? Like, I don't really know if they know what their overall plan is for the rest of this stage, but there's just not really all that much for them to look forward to, and I can empathize with that being a really crappy situation to find themselves in.
Well, there is some silver lining here and there to that. Our first replay that we're going to take a look at is an example of it, and we're actually going to have Jesse introduce this one as he ambles on over to the telestrator to break it down in greater detail than we usually get to see. Exciting
Indeed.
stuff.
Indeed, Doa. Let's go see, right? Because obviously this was a round that was happening all the way back, round 2, CCTV cache. This is a bomb site that is pretty well understood in Rainbow Six, okay? Lots of people know that this is the bomb site where you need to get in, you need to get open the wall, you need to get control of Raptors, and then go for your execute. And although that is what's done by Beastcoast, they do it in a very unique way. So I wanted to highlight this. I think it is a cool strategy, something that you can do if you're struggling this. Step 1, opening the wall. What do we have going on? Well, first of all, before I even press play, notice the position of some of these players. Zeno able to look in through the window, help if anybody's trying to play around the wall. Obviously, Bandit being brought by Canadian, already dead, so won't be a threat, but still was a potential there. Then you see in the top right screen, Mark is actually bringing EMP grenades, and he throws his second one here onto the wall to try to make it a little bit easier so that they can get these Bandit batteries off. And then we see Slash, of course, with that can opener, the hard breach gadget, able to open the wall. Now, if you had a Capitao here, of course, it was brought by Surf. It was taken out already. He can help with the fire arrows a little bit, right? If he can get some angles in onto the wall. Again, try to stop some of that Bandit trick play, but not going to come in through there. So we've got everybody kind of helping out with this wall getting open so far. We've got the sledge with the EMPs, we've got the can openers, we've got the cover from Zeno, and then the last person, of course, is going to be Slash, who is helping out with the wall, and then, of course, the sniper as well. Anthony playing on the glass. It's a fun little strategy, and you'll notice here, more smoke is covering the entryway, right? So with these Toxic Babes, it's another layer that the glass can see through. It's more of that smoke that will help out the attackers. So they've got all 5 players, if they were alive, contributing to the first step here, and they've brought a lot of interesting operators for it. Now they've got the pressure being applied, and we're gonna see Anthony using a couple of these shots, providing a lot more of that pressure. And notice as well, he's bringing the frag grenades rather than the smokes himself. It's because he's got the sends to help him out there. He's got some of the other teammates to help him with that utility. Step 2. Going to be moving over to the garage. And of course, this is where we're going to see Zeno really step up. But again, he's got a lot of that support to help him out. The first thing that you're going to notice, and it's going to be pretty quick right here, the very bottom, drone coming in from Slash. Okay, Anthony also has a drone on these stairs, and he's able to feed that information to take down Skies. So they've got that going for them. Then watch Slash himself down here in the bottom right. He's going to use these walls and graciously sacrifice his life, distracting Skies, making them think that that is the only threat. And because of that, Zeno is able to sneak in through the garage, go under the rafters, and then back up these stairs to find the pick. And again, there is barbed wire there, right? That's a very common counter to this kind of strategy, walking up the stairs. But it's not heard by Skies. He's far enough away. Gonna get this pick. At the same time, Mark is down below, causing some chaos, and they're gonna transition into the third part of this round, which is, of course, the execute in the last 30 seconds. Now, notice the fuse kit up here with Anthony. That's gonna be a bit of a dangerous play because nobody else is there. Those frag grenades coming in to help out, being able to get the pick here onto Pambazoo. And now it's a 3v2 push. They're feeling really good. They're gonna send 2 players in through the rafters. Again, Anthony with the kit all alone. Watch this play from Eclipse, because right now he's in a position where he knows he's in a very bad spot, but with Kit out here and with that sniper, of course, the Glaz can't really take those close range engagements. Eclipse SMG-11 pushes him for that frag. Beautiful there, because at this point, 10 seconds left in the round, they realistically can't grab that Kit. Unfortunately, he's not allowed to survive for those last 10 seconds. He does end up losing it out there, but I did think he made the right call in the end. Again, not a bomb site that often gets a lot of variation, but I thought that was a cool strat from Beastcoast. Worked very well. If your ranked games are struggling with this site, give it a try.
You wouldn't really think that you'd be saying that about a Beastcoast round, but it's kind of cool that you are, honestly. It was good coordination for the couple of rounds where it worked for Beastcoast, and again, they came into this game not having a single attack round under their belt, got 3, and then it was mostly just a problem when they were playing defense was the thing. It felt like they kind of forgot how to play.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, Beastcoast, at least they got a couple rounds, at least, like you said, we saw some signs of life. That's the main thing we were looking for out of them. Now, DarkZero, of course, the team that ended up getting the win. We're going to take a look at round number 7 next, and this is kind of DarkZero just doing a good job of taking advantage of the opportunities that Beastcoast is kind of sending their way.
Yeah, to me in this round, it was a good example of Beastcoast kind of not understanding positioning. A lot of that's going to be down to, honestly, experience. They have a 5v3 advantage. 2 of them are going to die to Panba, who's above, and then they're going to be able to drop Kitchen Hatch without anybody really understanding where. Zeno is playing dirt, but as you see, there's literally no threat at all in dirt. So people are going to be able to move through back armory while he's still holding that. Slash, as you see, he's holding under Moto towards main. Now nobody's holding Kitchen Hatch, so they lose the entire site here. And Pamba just, and the crazy thing is that this literally happened twice. We saw it the last round of the match. Basically, carbon copy. They're just not holding the right angles. They're not playing the right positions. They're giving up kills in situations where you shouldn't. Simply put, if you have a 3v5 and you're on defense, if you play in areas to make the other team plant, in areas where you can always be traded, it's impossible to lose the round. If you force them to plant in a 3v5, that's now a 2v5 because one guy can't shoot you. If you just stand in areas where they have to kill you or they lose the round, you win every time. Now, obviously, it's not as easy as that, but in that situation, obviously non-tradable positions, people not holding something, twice on that exact same site, they lose a double man advantage.
Yep, exactly. So DarkZero doing a job doing that. It was a little bit shaky here and there, but hey, a win is a win. DarkZero needed that kind of thing to get ahead to another opportunity to maybe go back to the major, do a bit better than they did in Berlin. We'll see if they make any progress in their match tomorrow. For now, we got one more game to look forward to, and I'm actually really hyped about this one. I think a lot of people are. Oxygen versus Mirage. Oxygen, of course, looking to show that they are another team that's major bound, and Mirage looking stronger than ever. I think I can safely say after their performance last week. We'll see who takes that final map of the day right after this.